Hello everybody, welcome to week 3, Monday of week 3. So we're really getting going this semester. It's kind of funny to think that we're almost at the halfway point already, just because this is a 7.5-week class. So that kind of puts things in perspective for you, hopefully, that time does fly. It goes by very, very quickly. Now, with that said, we're in week 3, which this one and the next one are my two favorite weeks of the semester because they deal with the subject of ethics. Ethics is the branch of philosophy that deals with notions of right and wrong, of right behavior and wrong behavior, right thinking, wrong thinking. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to use kind of two scenarios, two hypotheticals or two scenarios in these next 2 weeks to really kind of dig into the subject of ethics. So this week we're going to start with the very famous, maybe infamous, based on what you think of it when you've read it, trolley scenario. So the trolley scenario has been around for a very long time, and it essentially goes like this. You're there with the trolley tracks, and you see this trolley coming down the tracks. Now you can see, in the other direction, 5 workers who don't know that the trolley is coming and is out of control. Now if you don't do anything, they're going to get run over, and those 5 men are going to die. The one thing you can do is you can flip a switch. You can get the trolley, get on another set of tracks, and 1 worker will be killed. That's the only choice you have. So a lot of students will try to say, well, what I do is I do this, and then I'd run really fast, and I'd warn people, or I'd yell loudly, and everyone would hear me. No, you can't do that. Nor can you jump on the tracks and sacrifice yourself or things like that. This is the scenario as it is, and you have to deal within the parameters of the scenario. So what do? Do you choose to let the 5 survive and the 1 die, or vice versa? And why do you make that choice? That's really where these different ethical theories come into play, because we want to not just make a decision to say what it is, but we also want to justify why we chose that. So we have different ethical theories. Now you've been reading about these in the book and in the lecture notes. The most prominent ones are utilitarianism and deontology. I think the book also covers virtue ethics. Utilitarianism is basically the argument that, very broadly speaking, says we're going to work to do the greatest good for the greatest amount of people. The greatest good for the greatest number of people. It's a numbers game, okay? So this is very much ends-oriented. The means will justify the ends, okay? So in this scenario, you'd say, and for most people would say, 5 people, basically anything that would help benefit them would be the right course of action, because it's a numbers game, right? That's a utilitarian argument. Now, as you get into it a little bit more, and hopefully we'll talk about this a little bit more this week, the utilitarian argument can be tweaked. And so you can make some arguments that maybe in some rare circumstances, based on some other factors, maybe letting the 5 die and the 1 survive might be the utilitarian argument as well. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. There's also the theory of deontology, which is a really kind of big philosophical word that just means duty or duty-based ethics. And this is started by a famous German philosopher named Immanuel Kant. This essentially says you have a duty to act in a certain way. So it's not the ends. So the ends justify the means. No. The means are what matters. It's your action. Whatever the end result is, you have an obligation or a duty to do something in a certain way. So the means are what matters there and not the end result. So this is also known sometimes, or a part of what's known as the categorical imperative. And essentially the categorical imperative is this statement: act as though whatever you do was made into a universal law. So a deontologist would say, I'm not going to rob people, I'm not going to hurt people, I'm not going to cheat or lie. Why? Because if that were made into some sort of universal law and everyone had to do it, the world would be a nightmare. Everybody would be lying and cheating and stealing and hurting each other. So I have an obligation. I have a duty to act in a certain way and to be good, to be honest, to be kind, to be self-sacrificing, to be just, to be loving, all sorts of things like that. Because if I do those things, I have to act as though those things were maybe hypothetically made into a universal law, and look, the world would be a much better place if people were kind and just and loving, etc., etc., etc. Virtue ethics is another theory, and virtue ethics is really we're not going to try to determine what's the right course of action or the wrong course of action in any scenario. What we're doing is we're trying to foster the virtues within us. Trying to just become a more just, more loving, more kind, more courageous, more honorable person. And if we are that kind of person, those are our virtues within us, whatever choices we make are going to be the right choices because they're born out of the virtues that we've been fostering from within. So those are just three different ethical theories. And so you're going to try to apply those to the trolley scenario. Now, there's not a right or wrong answer here in that I'm looking for you to say a certain thing and you're going to get a grade if you say the right thing. No. I'm looking for you to make a decision and then justify your decision. That's really it, okay? This is a hypothetical. This has never happened. Sometimes students freak out a little bit and say, oh my gosh, this is too intense. I can't be a part of this or something. No. This is a hypothetical. So take it with that, maybe even have a little fun with it, okay? And just try to do the best you can to justify and say, this is why I believe this is the course of action. Or, I'm making this choice because I believe this, and this is why, A, B, C, D, something like that. So do that, try to get into the discussion as quickly as possible so you have enough time to respond to your classmates. So again, do the best you can, and I really mean this, by Tuesday or Wednesday to get those initial posts in. A lot of you are getting your initial posts in on Thursday or Friday and Saturday. That's not really beneficial to you or to the rest of the class because no one's going to be having much time to read your post and respond to it. And I know it's hard to get into the discussions a lot, especially since many of you are working full-time, but do the best you can to try to get them in as early as possible. Other than the discussion board, you're going to have another quiz. There's going to be a little check-in, which is not graded, but just you're kind of giving me an just understanding how things are going so far. You're going to also post for me your, not post for me, but submit your topic for your final research paper. Now with this, I want you to give me the topic, but then also what argument you're giving. So for instance, if you're going to be arguing and you say, my topic is marijuana. Well, that's great, but what are you trying to argue? Well, I'm in favor of medicinal marijuana, but not recreational marijuana. Or I think that all marijuana usage, no matter what the context, should be legalized. Or I think all of it should be made illegal. Okay, something like that. So you need to give me more than just a topic. You need to give me your position in order to get the full credit. Very easy to do, though. Okay. Other than that, I think there's another thing about. I don't think there is a reflection this week. I think there's actually just a topic an exercise on evaluating resources as well. So do those things. Really the bulk, though, this week should be in the discussion boards and really trying to get a lot out of a good, fruitful discussion there. So if you have any questions, as always, let me know. Email me. Use the Ask Your Instructor button if you'd like. Or, again, go to office hours tomorrow, Tuesday, from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, either via Skype or via Blackboard collaboration. So I hope to talk to some of you soon through those things. If not, I look forward to reading your posts in the discussion this week. Thanks, folks.